Hey garden fam, welcome back to the Sprout. Today we're talking about a classic garden flower that has been loved for centuries, the Dianthus. You might know it as carnation, pinks, or sweet William. Whatever you call it, this flower is a garden superstar. It's beautiful, it's fragrant, and it's surprisingly easy to grow. Dianthus has been cultivated for over 2,000 years. In fact, carnations are one of the oldest cultivated flowers in the world. They've been found in ancient Greek and Roman art. They symbolize love, fascination, and distinction. And the best part? They're perfect for beginners. In this video, we're covering everything you need to know: the different types of Dianthus, planting, sun requirements, watering, soil, fertilizing, deadheading, pruning, propagation, common problems, and how to keep them blooming all season long. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about what Dianthus actually is. The name Dianthus comes from Greek, dios meaning divine and anthos meaning flower, so literally divine flower. The genus Dianthus includes over 300 species and thousands of cultivars, but for home gardeners, there are three main types you need to know. First, carnations. These are the large, riffled flowers you see at florist shops. They have thick, sturdy stems and big blooms in white, pink, red, yellow, and striped. They're often grown as annuals or short-lived perennials. Second, pinks. These have smaller, fringed flowers that look like they've been cut with pinking shears. That's actually where the name comes from, not the color. They're low-growing and great for borders and rock gardens. They're usually perennial. Third, sweet William. These grow in clusters of small, brightly colored flowers on taller stems. They're often grown as biennials or short-lived perennials. All three types are fantastic, and their care is very similar. Let's start with sun requirements. Dianthus loves sun, and I mean really loves sun. For the best blooms and the most compact, healthy growth, give your Dianthus full sun. That means at least 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. In most of the United States, morning sun and afternoon sun are both fine. In very hot climates like Texas, Arizona, or Florida, a little afternoon shade can help protect the flowers from scorching. But in general, more sun equals more flowers. If you plant Dianthus and too much shade, you'll get leggy, floppy plants with few flowers. The stems will stretch toward the light, and the plant won't look full and beautiful. So find your sunniest spot. That's where Dianthus belongs. Now let's talk about soil. Dianthus is not picky, but it has one strong preference. It needs well-draining soil. In fact, Dianthus hates wet feet. Heavy clay soil that stays wet after rain will cause root rot and kill your plants. Here's what Dianthus wants: soil that's slightly alkaline with a pH between 6 and 7. Most garden soil is fine, but if your soil is heavy clay, amend it with compost, sand, or perlite to improve drainage. If your soil is acidic, add a little garden lime to raise the pH. Dianthus also likes soil that's moderately fertile. Too much nitrogen will give you lots of leaves and very few flowers, so don't go overboard with rich compost or high nitrogen fertilizer. Let's talk about planting. The best time to plant Dianthus is in spring, after the last frost, or in early fall. Space your plants according to their mature size. Small alpine varieties can be planted 6 to 8 inches apart. Larger carnations need 12 to 18 inches. Good air circulation is important to prevent fungal diseases, so don't crowd them. Dig a hole twice as wide as the root ball, but no deeper. Plant at the same depth the plant was in its pot. Water thoroughly after planting and keep the soil consistently moist for the first few weeks while the roots establish. Now let's talk about watering. Once established, Dianthus is drought tolerant. That's one of its best features. Here's my rule: water deeply when the top inch of soil feels dry. In most gardens, that means watering about once a week. In hot, dry weather, you might need to water twice a week. In cooler weather, or if you get rain, you can water less. The most important thing is to avoid overhead watering. Water at the base of the plant. Wet leaves and flowers can lead to fungal diseases like rust and leaf spot. Also avoid soggy soil. Dianthus will rot if the roots sit in water. So water deeply but infrequently and let the soil dry out between waterings. Let's talk about temperature and hardiness. Dianthus is incredibly cold hardy. Most varieties are perennial in USDA zones 3 through 9. That means they survive winter temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, -40. In colder zones, a layer of mulch over the plants in late fall helps protect them from freeze-thaw cycles. In hot climates, Dianthus appreciates afternoon shade and regular water. The ideal temperature for Dianthus is between 60 and 75 degrees. They bloom best in the cool weather of spring and early summer. In many climates, you'll get a second flush of blooms in fall when temperatures cool down again. Now let's talk about fertilizer. Dianthus doesn't need a lot of food. In fact, too much fertilizer, especially too much nitrogen, will cause leggy growth and few flowers. Here's my recommendation. At planting time, mix a slow-release, balanced fertilizer into the soil. Something like a 10-10-10 works well. Then, in spring, as new growth appears, apply another light dose of slow-release fertilizer. That's usually enough for the whole season. If your plants look like they need a boost, you can use a liquid fertilizer diluted to half strength once a month during the blooming season. Do not fertilize in fall. That encourages new growth that can be damaged by winter cold. Let's talk about deadheading and pruning. This is important for keeping your Dianthus blooming all season. Deadheading means removing spent flowers. When a flower fades and dies, pinch or cut it off at the base of the flower stem. This does two things. It makes the plant look tidier, and it encourages the plant to produce more flowers instead of putting energy into making seeds. For carnations, you can cut the flower stem down to the nearest set of leaves. For pinks, pinch off the individual faded flowers. For Sweet William, remove the entire flower cluster when the blooms fade. After the main blooming period in early summer, you can cut the entire plant back by about 1/3. This encourages a second flush of blooms in late summer or early fall. In late fall, don't cut back the foliage. Leave it to protect the crown of the plant over winter. Cut back dead growth in early spring. Now let's talk about propagation. Dianthus is easy to propagate, and it's a great way to get more plants for free. You have 3 main options. First, division. This works for perennial Dianthus that form clumps. In early spring or early fall, dig up the clump and gently pull or cut it into smaller sections, each with roots and leaves. Replant the divisions immediately. Second, stem cuttings. In late spring or early summer, take cuttings from healthy, non-flowering stems. Cut about 4 inches. Remove the lower leaves, dip the cut end in rooting hormone, and stick it in moist potting mix. Keep the soil moist and out of direct sun. In 4 to 6 weeks, roots will form. Third, seeds. Dianthus grows easily from seed. Start seeds indoors 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost, or sow directly in the garden after the last frost. Sprinkle seeds on the soil surface and barely cover them. They need light to germinate. Keep the soil moist. Seeds usually germinate in 1 to 2 weeks. Now let's talk about common problems. Dianthus is generally healthy, but it can have issues. Problem 1, yellow leaves. This can be from overwatering, poor drainage, or root rot. Check the soil. If it's soggy, let it dry out. If the drainage is bad, amend the soil or move the plant. Problem 2, powdery mildew. This looks like white powder on the leaves. It's caused by high humidity and poor airflow. Water at the base of the plant, not overhead. Space plants for good airflow. Remove affected leaves. You can also use a fungicide if it's severe. Problem 3, rust. This looks like orange or brown spots on the underside of leaves. Remove affected leaves and don't compost them. Improve airflow. Problem 4, crown rot. This is when the center of the plant turns brown and mushy. It's caused by wet soil or planting too deeply. Make sure the crown of the plant is at soil level, not buried. Improve drainage. Problem 5, leggy, floppy growth. Your plant isn't getting enough sun. Move it to a sunnier spot. Problem 6, few or no flowers. Too much shade, too much nitrogen fertilizer, or the plant is old and needs dividing. Move to more sun, reduce fertilizer, divide in spring. Problem 7, pests. Dianthus can get aphids, spider mites, and thrips. Aphids cluster on new growth and buds. Spray them off with water or use insecticidal soap. Spider mites leave fine webs. Increase humidity and use neem oil. Also watch for slugs and snails, especially on young plants. Use slug bait or beer traps. Let me give you a few quick answers to common questions. Are Dianthus annuals or perennials? It depends on the variety. Carnations are often grown as annuals but can be short-lived perennials. Pinks are usually hardy perennials. Sweet William is often grown as a biennial. Check the label for your specific plant. Can I grow Dianthus in containers? Yes, absolutely. Use a pot with drainage holes and well-draining potting mix. Container plants need more frequent watering. Do Dianthus attract pollinators? Yes, bees and butterflies love Dianthus. The flowers are also edible. They have a spicy, clove-like flavor and look beautiful on cakes and salads. What do I do with Dianthus in winter? In cold climates, mulch over the plants after the ground freezes. Don't cut back the foliage in fall. Leave it to protect the crown. Remove the mulch in early spring. How long do Dianthus live? Perennial varieties can live for 3 to 5 years, sometimes longer. After a few years, they get woody and produce fewer flowers. That's when you divide them or take cuttings to start fresh plants. Let's wrap everything up. Dianthus is a classic garden flower that deserves a spot in every garden. Give it full sun for the best blooms, plant in well-draining soil, ideally slightly alkaline, water deeply but infrequently and always at the base of the plant. Fertilize lightly in spring with a balanced, slow-release fertilizer, deadhead spent flowers to encourage continuous blooming, cut back after the first flush of flowers for a second bloom. Propagate by division, cuttings, or seeds. Watch for powdery mildew, rust, and root rot, and enjoy the fragrance. Here's the most important thing to remember. Dianthus rewards simple, consistent care. It doesn't need constant attention. It doesn't need perfect conditions. Just give it sun, good drainage, and occasional water, and it will reward you with months of beautiful, fragrant flowers. These are the flowers that grandmothers grew, and there's a reason for that. They just work. If you grow Dianthus in your garden, let me know in the comments. Do you grow Carnations, Pinks, or Sweet William? What color are they? Post a picture. I'd love to see your garden. And if you're new to The Sprout, hit subscribe. We put out new gardening videos every week. No plant shaming, just real tips for real gardeners. Thanks for watching. Take care of your garden, and it will take care of you. See you in the next video.